Welcome to The World Now at 4. I am Uduak Daniel. First, let's talk the headlines. And on the headlines, Senate probes 1.7 trillion naira security vote to 797 agencies. Still on the headlines, we've arrested killers behind Owo. Also on the headlines, Pelosi to urge House to pass Biden inflation reduction bill. And on sports, Parker tips Usyk to beat Joshua again. And now the news in detail. The Senate, through its Standing Committee on Public Accounts, has begun a probe of over 1.7 trillion service-wide votes allocated to federal agencies from 2017 to 2021 budgets. The chairman of the committee, Senator Matthew Orobide, during the meeting of the committee said beneficiary government agencies needed to give explanations on how they utilize the fund. He added that service-wide votes, that is the SWV, were disbursements for shortfall in capital and overheads. A service-wide vote, which is also known as the Consolidated Revenue Fund charge, is more or less the country's contingency fund in the annual budget. The chairman also ordered the acting accountant general of the Federation, Okoliabo Silva, who appeared before the committee to submit details of disbursements of service-wide votes as quickly as possible. General Lucky Irabo has said that security operatives have arrested the suspected killers of worshippers at St. Francis Catholic Church in Owo, Ondo State. Speaking at a meeting with editors and media executives, Irabo noted that the suspects would be paraded after the conclusion of investigation, adding that the military has also neutralized many bandits terrorizing the country. The CDS, who listed their names, noted that the suspects, who are members of Islamic State of West African province, that is the ISWAP, are in custody. According to reports, terrorists on June 5, 2022 attacked St. Francis Catholic Church, Owo, Ondo State, and killed many worshippers. To matters concerning the NDLEA and drug matters, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, that is the NDLEA, says it has arrested 4 suspects and seized 456.8 kilograms of illicit drugs in Kogi within a space of 4 days. NDLEA's commander in Kogi, Abdul Kadir Abdullahi Fakai, made this known in an interview with, according to Abdul Kadir, 456.8 kilograms illicit drugs, including Exol 5, codeine, and cannabis sativa, were seized between July 30 and August 3rd within the jurisdiction of Kogi. The commander said that the police had handed over 229.8 kilograms of cannabis sativa and a suspect to the agency. He acknowledged the support the agency was receiving from Governor Yahya Bello's administration and other security agencies. Abdullahi Fakai, however, appealed to the general public to always assist the agency with useful information on suspected drug traffickers and drug barons for prompt action. He expressed satisfaction with the synergy existing between the agency and other security agencies, especially the police. Away from that story, the indigenous people of Biafra, that is the IPOB, has said that it has not replaced the currently detained Nnamdi Kanu as its leader. The Biafra growers to ignore the reports making the rounds that IPOB has replaced Kanu, describing it as fabricated media propaganda. These were made known in a statement by the group's media and publicity secretary, Emma Powerful. According to Powerful, Mazi Chika Edoziem is the head of the IPOB Directorate of State. An unambiguous statement by IPOB where we clarified that in the meantime, their leader is in detention and the head of DOS, Mazi Edoziem, will be providing direction on the day-to-day activities of IPOB. He therefore urged family members, supporters, friends, and members of the public to ignore the misleading and mischievous media report. When we return, news from other parts of Africa. Don't go away. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Talking more stories, Kenyans are praying for a peaceful transition of power after almost a decade under President Uhuru Kenyatta, but concerns about vote rigging linger. As at the time of filing this report, there have been speculations that Raila Odinga may be leading the poll, although there have been cases of dysfunctional voting machines in some polling stations. Although the end in counting was about to start, as at the time of filing this report, there were still Kenyans on long queues waiting to exercise their democratic rights. According to IEBC, 6.5 million Kenyans had voted by noon today, which is 30% of the registered voters.
As at noon today, 6,567,869 Kenyans had turned up to vote. I repeat, as at noon today, 6,567,869 Kenyans had turned up to vote. This equates to 30.65% of the total 20.
Meanwhile, President Uhuru Kenyatta's deputy for the entirety of his 2 terms, Ruto, is looking to topple Kenyatta-backed veteran politician Raila Odinga for the top seat.
People of Kenya will choose. And let me say that in moments like this is when the mighty and the powerful come to the realization that it is the simple and the ordinary that.
Kenyatta, while speaking, says he is hopeful for a peaceful transition.
Well, this is a day of voting. I think this is a day where we all want to pray that Kenyans vote, turn out and vote in peace, go back.
In its history, no presidential elected for several days. And away from that, let's get to the DRC Congo. President of the DRC, that is the Democratic Republic of Congo, Felix Tshisekedi, is set to discuss tensions between his country and Rwanda today with U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. DRC is experiencing a resurgence of tensions with neighboring Rwanda, which Kinshasa accuses of supporting the rebels of the March 23 movement, that is the M23, a claim that Kigali denies. After South Africa, the first stage of his tour, which began on Sunday, the head of the American diplomacy will visit both countries this week, in DRC and in Rwanda. According to a statement by the Congolese presidency, Blinken will be received in the early evening of today by President Tshisekedi and will not fail to discuss issues of strategic partnership between the DRC and the United States, that is the U.S. Adding that the latest UN experts' report on the invasion of Rwandan troops transformed into the M23 will not fail to be addressed. The March 23 movement, that is the M23, is a former Tutsi-dominated rebellion that was defeated in 2013 and took up arms again late last year, blaming Kinshasa for failing to respect agreements on the demobilization and reintegration of its fighters. Kigali has denied these invalid allegations and argued that it has a right to defend its territory. We now move to other parts of the world after this break. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us and to other parts of the world. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she will ask members of the House of Representatives to pass without changes a $430 billion billion climate and prescription drug bill approved by U.S. Senate over the weekend, as is calling it a historic piece of legislation. Pelosi disclosed this in an interview with Newsman earlier today. According to Pelosi, members are very pleased, adding that quite a bit of what is in the bill is what had been worked together by the House and Senate to do. Adding that the bill's provision on prescription drugs costs were historic, its climate change initiatives is welcomed. According to reports, the U.S. Senate on Sunday passed the $430 billion bill intended to fight climate change, lower drug prices, and raise some corporate taxes in a major victory for President Joe Biden for that Democrats hope will add and aid their chances of keeping control of Congress in this year's election. After a marathon 27-hour weekend session of debate and Republican efforts to derail the package, the Senate approved the Inflation Reduction Act by a 51-50 party line vote. They are expected to pass it, which would then send the bill to the White House for Biden's signature. In a statement, Biden said he looked forward to signing the bill into law. Away from that, at least 8 people were killed and 6 others missing in South Korea as heavy rainfall drenched the greater Seoul region. This occurred while commuters were slowly returning to work, and today after emergency crews worked overnight to clean up much of the disarray. According to the Ministry of Interior and Safety, the rain began Monday morning and intensified through the evening hours, adding that it flooded streets and subway stations and damaged nearly 800 buildings in Seoul and nearby cities. Nearly 800 buildings were damaged, while more than 400 people were forced to evacuate from their homes. 3 people were found dead in the debris of a collapsed bus station and a landslide in nearby cities of Gwangju and Wonsan. The country's weather agency maintained a heavy rain warning for the Seoul metropolitan area and nearby regions on Tuesday, noting that the precipitated may reach 5 to 10 centimeters an hour, that is 2 to 4 inches in some areas. It said around 10 to 35 centimeters, that is 4 to 14 inches, of more rain was expected across the capital region through Thursday. As Antony Blinken continues his 3-nation tour, the U.S. Secretary of State says Washington does not see Africa as the latest nation and not trying to outdo other world powers in vying for influence on the continent. Speaking further in Pretoria, South Africa, in a press briefing alongside his local counterpart, Naledi Pandor, he said the meeting was fundamentally about how to advance the nation's engagement. Blinken arrived in South Africa for an official visit of the continent by Russian forces had started in the southern county of Pingtung shortly after 0040 GMT with the firing of target flares and artillery. Taiwan lies under the constant threat of invasion by China, which views its neighbor as part of Chinese territory to be reclaimed, one howitzers, the army said. It comes as China extends its largest ever military exercises around the self-governing island, which were scheduled to end on Monday, but instead are going on for another day. Meanwhile, Joseph Wu, speaking at a press conference in Taipei, offered no timetable for a possible invasion of Taiwan, which is claimed by China as its own. Rather, he said Taiwan would not be intimidated even as the drills continued with China, often breaching the unofficial median line down the Taiwan Strait. Frankly speaking, we're glad to have you back. Always a delight. This is the Business Desk on the World Now at 4. Talking Business, the Nigerian Economic Summit Group, that is the NESG, has tasked the Central Bank of Nigeria, that is the CBN, to address the challenge of multiple exchange rate windows in order to improve the inflow of foreign investments and diaspora remittances. The NESG, this communique from a meeting of its board of directors held on July 26, 2022. The group said international investors, being savvy and rational, would not put their money where there was a real risk to their ability to access and repatriate investment proceeds or when the functional currency was in a sporadic depreciation. According to NESG, there is no better time to harmonize the FX rates than now, adding that Nigeria must make businesses and lack of innovation in tax collection administration. Nigeria's debt reached 41.6 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2022, which the country paying back creditors with 118% of revenue between January and April 2022. Getting on to the United States senators approved a sweeping $700 billion that is equivalent to 577 part of President Joe Biden's agenda is a boost ahead of midterm elections. The bill was previously blocked by two Democratic senators who shared Republican concerns about its cost. It will now be sent to the Democratic-controlled House of Representatives, expected to pass in a vote on Friday before the president can sign it into law. The Inflation Reduction Act includes legislation that would allow the government to negotiate lower prices for prescription medicines provided under its Medicare health insurance program for those aged over 65. That is expected to save hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decade, according to estimates from the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office. The package also includes a minimum 15% tax on most corporations that make more than $1 billion a year in profits. Coming right up next in the World Now at 4 is sports. Don't go away.
President Patrice Motsepe is expected to launch the eagerly anticipated Africa Super League Cup tomorrow in Arusha, Tanzania. It was gathered that 24 clubs will be eligible to feature in the competition. Among the teams expected to form the first set of participants are Yimba of Nigeria, Al and Club Africain of Tunisia, TP Mazembe and AS Vita of Congo, South Africa's Kaizer Chiefs, Orlando Pirates and Mamelodi Sundowns. The competition was first announced on 28 November in 2019 by President Gianni Infantino. The essence of holding the tournament is the huge financial returns that will exceed the barrier $200 million, which will be used to develop and improve stadiums, infrastructure, and the promotion of football in Africa. Joseph Parker believes it will be Alexander Usyk who prevails in his highly anticipated rematch with Anthony Joshua. The New Zealand heavyweight is a former opponent of Joshua, with the two going head-to-head in 2018, which saw AJ adding Parker's WBO belt to his collection, as well as going the 12th round distance for the first time. Joshua is now at a much different stage of his career since that bout, having lost his heavyweight belt twice, most recently being outclassed by Usyk at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in last September. Road heads back to Saudi Arabia on August 20, looking to regain those heavyweight belts from the Ukrainian, just as he did against Andy Ruiz Jr. in 2019. Despite having praise for his former opponent, Parker told reporters he believes it will be Usyk with his hand raised at the end of the fight, and the lead trained heavyweight then made his rematch in Jeddah. Away from boxing now to table tennis, Serena Williams, the American great 40 years, showed glimpses of her vintage ball striking in a 6-3, 6-4 victory over the world number 57. Williams' last single success was at the 2021 French Open. She will now play either Olympic. Williams made her singles return at Wimbledon in June after a year without injury. After speculation she may retire, when asked what drove her to continue playing, she said she wanted more trophies.
Obviously, I love playing out here in Toronto. I've done well in the past, so yeah, I just was out here doing my best today. Yeah, it was cold. It wasn't cold. It was cloudy. Excuse me. It was cloudy. It was sunny. It was windy, but it was good. I got the 3 for 1. It's great to be back in Toronto. I didn't know if I would be able to play here again. So this being one of my favorite stops on tour, I was really happy to be and come out here again. So it was really
away from lawn tennis now to football. Inter Milan have ended forward Alexis Sanchez's contract by mutual agreement. He was in 109 appearances for the Serie A side after joining from Manchester United on an initial loan deal in 2000.
Indeed, the sports world is towering high. Ainan Lubem, thank you for that one. And that's the world now at 4. But before we go, a quick look at our top stories. We told you Senate probes 1.7 trillion naira security votes to 797 agencies. We also told you we've arrested killers behind Owo's church attack, says Irabo. We brought to the fore the fact that Pelosi to urge House to pass Biden inflation reduction bill. And on sports, we told you Parker tips Usyk to beat Joshua again. Remember to visit us on Facebook at Hills TV, Instagram at Hills TV. Our YouTube channel is at Hills TV. I am Uduak Daniel. Thank you for watching.